Living better isn't always about adding to your life. Sometimes it's about letting go. It's about releasing the habits, beliefs, and pressures that no longer align with who you are or who you want to be. This isn't about regret or fixing mistakes. It's about recognizing that you've earned the right to live with greater freedom, joy, and peace. Over the past 10 years, I've sat with countless people in their 60s, 70s, 80s, and beyond, listening to their stories, their lessons, and their dreams. Their wisdom has shown me what it means to live well in this chapter of life. Together, we'll explore 9 things you might consider letting go of after 60, not because you've done anything wrong, but because you deserve a life that feels lighter and more meaningful. Stay with me until the end, because the final lesson might just change how you wake up tomorrow morning. Let's start with the habit of saving out of fear. For most of your life, you've been taught to save diligently. For emergencies, for retirement, for that rainy day you were always warned about. This mindset was a cornerstone, helping you build stability, support your family, and plan for the future. You tucked away money for your children's education, for unexpected medical bills, for a time you couldn't yet see. And that discipline has likely served you well, bringing you to this moment with a sense of security. But now, that future you saved for is here. You're living it. Yet, for many, the instinct to save out of fear lingers, even when the bank account shows there's more than enough. I once met a man named Harold who was 68 and had spent his career as an accountant. He'd saved over $2 million in his retirement accounts, owned a paid-off home, and had no debts. By all measures, he was set. But whenever his wife, Linda, suggested they take a trip to Italy, a dream they'd shared for decades, Harold's shoulders would tense. "What if something happens?" he'd ask. "What if we need that money later?" The fear of an unknown crisis kept him from enjoying the life he'd worked so hard to build. Over coffee one afternoon, I asked him, "What if later never comes the way you expect? What if you spend your whole life saving for a future you don't get to live?" That question lingered. It wasn't about throwing caution to the wind or spending recklessly. It was about trust, trusting that he'd prepared well enough to enjoy the present. A few months later, Harold and Linda booked their trip to Italy. They walked the cobblestone streets of Florence, shared plates of fresh pasta in small trattorias, and laughed under the golden Tuscan sun. When they returned, Harold told me the trip wasn't just about the places they saw. It was about realizing his savings were for more than emergencies. They were for living, for connection, for joy. This shift isn't about abandoning financial responsibility. It's about reframing what your money is for. If you've planned well, if your essentials are covered, your savings are a tool for creating memories, not just a shield against fear. Next, consider letting go of spending on things that don't bring you joy. Now that you've given yourself permission to spend, it's time to ensure your money goes toward what truly matters. Too often, we fall into patterns of spending out of habit, obligation, or the need to keep up appearances. We buy clothes we never wear, gadgets we don't use, or gifts we feel pressured to give. But at this stage, every dollar you spend should reflect what you value most, not what you think you're supposed to want. I once worked with a woman named Margaret, who was 72. Margaret had a habit of spending thousands each year on things she thought she should buy: designer outfits to impress her social circle, expensive gifts for relatives she rarely saw, kitchen appliances she bought on sale but never opened. Her closets were full, but her heart felt empty. One year, she made a different choice. Instead of adding to her collection of things, she spent $600 on a plane ticket to surprise her sister in another state. They spent a weekend laughing, crying, and sharing stories until midnight. When Margaret came back, her eyes lit up as she told me it was the best money she'd ever spent, not because it was extravagant, but because it was meaningful. This is the difference between spending and spending well. After 60, your resources, time, energy, money, are precious. Why waste them on things that feel heavy or meaningless? Instead, focus on what lights you up. Maybe it's a subscription to a local theater, a donation to a cause you care about, or a comfortable chair that makes your evenings more restful. Joy doesn't always come with a price tag either. Some of the richest moments are free. A walk with a loved one, a handwritten letter to an old friend, or time spent in nature without distractions. To start, look at your spending over the past few months. Pull out your bank statements and highlight the purchases that brought you genuine happiness. Then, notice the ones that didn't. Were they driven by guilt, pressure, or habit? Going forward, pause before you spend and ask, is this helping me live the life I want, or is it just noise? Redirect your money toward what aligns with your values. If you're not sure what those values are, think back to the moments when you felt most alive. Those are your guideposts. Spend with intention, spend with heart, because the goal isn't to have less or more, it's to have meaning. I met a man named Robert, a high school teacher who loved his work for over 30 years. At 62, friends and family kept asking, "When are you going to retire?" His answer was simple, "When I stop loving it." He kept teaching, pouring his heart into his students, until one morning at 67, he woke up and felt a quiet certainty. It was time. He retired with peace, not regret, because he'd stayed true to what gave him purpose. Contrast that with Susan, a woman in her early 60s who stayed in a corporate job she disliked because she didn't know who she'd be without it. The stress drained her, and she admitted she was afraid to stop, afraid of losing structure or identity. The question isn't whether you should retire at 60, it's whether the way you're spending your time aligns with what matters most to you. If your work fills you with energy, connection, or pride, keep going. But if it feels like a weight, if it keeps you from the life you want, it may be time to let go. You've traded time for money long enough. Now it's time to trade time for meaning. To explore this, reflect on your current work or daily commitments. Ask yourself, does this give me purpose, or am I doing it out of habit or fear? If it's the latter, consider what you'd do with your time if money weren't a factor. Maybe it's volunteering, mentoring, or picking up a passion you've shelved for years. If you're not ready to leave your job entirely, explore part-time options or a phased retirement. The goal is to reclaim your time for what makes you feel alive. You can't earn more time, but you can choose how to spend it wisely. Another thing to release is the habit of putting off experiences you've always wanted. How many times have you said, "I'll do that someday"? A trip you've dreamed of, a skill you've wanted to learn, a conversation you've meant to have. Someday, next year, when the timing is right. But someday isn't a date on the calendar, and for too many, it never arrives. I remember a couple, Ellen and Tom, who spent years talking about driving across the country in a vintage Airstream trailer. They had the savings, the time, and the dream, but they kept delaying. Next summer, they'd say, citing work or family obligations. Then, one winter, Tom had a health scare, a minor heart issue that resolved quickly but shook them both. It was a wake-up call. They realized they'd been waiting for a permission slip that would never come. So they bought the trailer, mapped their route, and hit the road. 6 months later, they returned with stories of sunsets in national parks, small-town diners, and moments of pure freedom. It wasn't perfect, there were breakdowns and rainy days, but it was theirs. What are you waiting for? A trip to see a distant friend, a pottery class, a letter you've meant to write? The excuses we make, work, routine, fear of change, can keep us stuck. But after 60, you've earned the right to say yes to yourself. You don't need to wait for everything to be perfect or for someone else to approve. The world is still full of wonder, and you're not too old to chase it. To take action, make a list of 3 experiences you've been putting off. They don't have to be grand. Maybe it's visiting a local museum or calling an old friend. Choose one and take a small step toward it this week. Book the ticket, sign up for the class, or make the call. Let go of the fear that it's too late or too impractical. Your life is happening now, and every step toward an experience you crave is a step toward a richer, fuller you. Consider this. Would you rather have $20 million but feel tired, achy, and unwell every day, or $1 million and feel vibrant, strong, and full of energy? Most people choose the latter when they pause to think about it, yet many of us live as if we're chasing the former, prioritizing wealth or busyness over our well-being. The good news is that you don't need to become a fitness guru or overhaul your life overnight. Small, consistent changes can make a big difference. Take Clara, a 68-year-old woman I met at a community center. Clara had always been active, but after retiring, she let her routine slip. She felt sluggish and avoided her annual checkups out of fear of bad news. Then, a friend invited her to a gentle yoga class designed for seniors. Reluctantly, she went. Over time, those weekly sessions improved her balance, eased her joint pain, and gave her a community. She started walking daily, drinking more water, and even scheduled that overdue doctor's visit. Clara didn't transform into an athlete, but she reclaimed her energy and independence. Start where you are. Take a 10-minute walk around your neighborhood. Swap one soda for water each day. Try a stretching routine in the morning, or join a local fitness class tailored to your age group. If mobility is a challenge, explore chair exercises or physical therapy. Make that doctor's appointment you've been avoiding. Health isn't about perfection, it's about momentum. Every step you take toward caring for your body is a step toward a life you can fully enjoy. Another thing to release is worrying about what other people think. For much of your life, you've navigated the expectations of others, being the responsible parent, the dependable employee, the accommodating friend. You followed the rules, met the standards, and shaped yourself to fit the mold. But now, at 60 and beyond, it's time to ask, who am I living for? I once worked with a woman named Diane, who was 65 and passionate about painting. She'd always wanted to take an art class, but hesitated, worried that others would think it was frivolous or that she wouldn't be good enough at her age. After some encouragement, she enrolled in a local painting workshop. She wasn't aiming to become Picasso, she just wanted to create. That class became her sanctuary, a place where she could express herself without apology. Diane's story isn't about becoming an artist, it's about giving herself permission to live authentically. The older you get, the more freedom you earn to let go of external judgments. Want to wear a bright red hat? Do it. Want to say no to a draining social obligation? You can. Want to travel solo or take up ballroom dancing? Go for it. This isn't about selfishness, it's about living without regret. A hospice nurse named Bronnie Ware once wrote about the top regrets of the dying. The most common? I wish I'd had the courage to live a life true to myself, not the life others expected of me. Let that sink in. To start, identify one area where you're holding back because of others' opinions. Maybe it's a hobby you're hesitant to try or a decision you're afraid to make. Take a small step toward it this week. Remind yourself, I'm allowed to be me. The people who matter will support you, and those who don't, their opinions are not your burden to carry. Show up for your life, unapologetically, and watch how it transforms. It's also time to let go of immersing yourself in doom and gloom. Staying informed about the world is important. It's part of being a thoughtful, engaged citizen. But there's a difference between staying aware and being consumed by negativity. If you spend hours each day watching news that paints the world as broken, you may start to feel hopeless, anxious, or afraid. That constant stress takes a toll on your body, mind, and spirit, stealing the peace you've worked so hard to earn. I've never met someone who said, watching 3 hours of news every night makes me feel so much better about life. But I've met many who, after stepping away from the relentless news cycle, felt lighter, more hopeful, and more present. The news often isn't designed to inform, it's designed to keep you hooked, and fear is a powerful hook. After 60, you have the wisdom to choose where your attention goes. You can focus on what's broken, or you can seek out what's still beautiful: kindness, connection, creativity, and love. Another thing to let go of is ignoring your financial plan or obsessing over it. Some avoid their finances entirely, saying it's too complicated, or I'll deal with it later. But avoidance only breeds uncertainty. After 60, understanding your financial picture, your income needs, healthcare costs, and unexpected expenses is essential for peace of mind. On the other hand, some fixate on every dollar, analyzing spreadsheets, and delaying joy for fear of disrupting their plan. I once worked with a man named George who checked his investment accounts daily, agonizing over market fluctuations. He'd cancel plans with friends, worried that a $200 dinner might derail his retirement. Meanwhile, his savings were more than sufficient. I told him, a great financial plan isn't just about numbers, it's about a life well lived. That perspective shifted something in him. He started saying yes to small joys, a weekend getaway, a family barbecue, without losing sight of his security. Meet with a financial advisor or review your plan yourself. Ensure your basics are covered, then use your money as a tool to support your life, not control it. Let go of fear-driven avoidance and anxiety-driven obsession. Your savings are meant to enable joy, not hold you hostage. Finally, let go of the illusion that you have forever. This isn't meant to frighten you, it's an invitation to live more fully. By 60, many of us have experienced loss. A parent, a friend, a loved one. Those moments remind us that life is finite, and that makes today precious. Yet we often live as if we have endless time, putting off the things that matter most. Start by choosing one thing you've been postponing. Make it small but meaningful. Say, "I love you," to someone who needs to hear it. Sign up for that class. Take that walk. Life is fleeting, but it's also beautiful. Honor it by showing up fully, starting today. These 9 lessons, releasing fear-driven saving, joyless spending, time for money trades, delayed experiences, neglected health, others' opinions, negativity, financial avoidance, and the illusion of forever, are not about loss. They're about creating space for what matters, joy, peace, and purpose. You've spent decades building a life. Now it's time to live it.